It's not the shoes. It's a bad photo. It's not flattering. She looks washed out. The lighting is wrong. What's up with her hands? It looks out of focus. The background is trash. And look at her face. The look on her face says, "Why the fuck am I here?" But for an 8-year-old, it's really good work.
Jesus, this is the dumbest controversy I think I've seen in.
That's what I'm trying to tell you, man. I saw it this morning. I mean,
I was really expecting something with more substance.
No.
My brain's just kicking in like it's really just over a picture.
A picture, it's clearly glorifying her. Madam Vice President, the new America. Like, this is the level of discourse. This is what we're going to get for the next fucking 4 years. Anyone like, okay, imagine what this type of person who gets offended by a magazine cover that's glorifying her. Imagine how they're going to react when people like actually go after her like record as a prosecutor. They're going to fucking go in. They're going to go K-Hive jihad on people's asses. They're going to go insane.
Yeah.
He walked out in the gray light and stood, and he saw for a brief moment the absolute truth of the world. The cold, relentless circling of the intestate earth. Darkness implacable. The blind dogs of the sun in their running. The crushing black vacuum of the universe. And somewhere 200 animals trembling like ground foxes in their cover. Borrowed time and borrowed world and borrowed eyes with which to sorrow it.
And lo, for the earth was empty of form, and void, and darkness was all over the face of the deep, and we said, "Look at that fucker dance."
Welcome to He Death of the Universe. Why do I speak like that? I don't know. We'll never know.
Why wouldn't you speak like that? The real question is why wouldn't everyone speak like that?
like the beginning of an bad Ace Ventura impression. Welcome. It is Monday, January 11th, 2021. No mistaking that. It's 11:11 a.m. Nice, cool time. And we're talking to you from Seoul, South Korea. Oh, a lot in the news. Paul? I mean, Jason.
Who's Paul? Is Paul replacing me in this job?
Yes, Paul... the bald baby man from David Letterman. The David Letterman Show. That's his name, right? Paul?
I think so.
Off to a killer start. Sorry. It's anti-comedy, folks. It's called anti-comedy. Neil Hamburger. Look it up. A lot in the news. I guess we should just jump right into it, right? Unless we want to give some personal testimonials about our lives these days. How's it going with you?
Well, started smoking again.
Vaping. Call it what it is. I think you say smoking because you want to make yourself feel worse about it to make yourself quit again. Probably. That's just my sudden theory.
It's just whenever I get on the nicotine train, I overdo it. Like probably in the 30 minutes we've been in this Zoom call, I think I've had like
It's been
cigarettes or something.
It's been an hour, but okay. So see, it's been an hour. That means you've had like 5.
And I say
in half an
cigarettes
hour.
because I'm using those South Korean vapes, which are like tobacco sticks heated by a vaporizer.
Those are weird, man. I'm still thinking those are. I still think those are weird.
I kind of like it.
I know you
But
do.
yeah, they are a little weird. You're right.
Well, like I've said, at least you're not on the real cigarettes. That's when you'll feel real shitty about yourself. I think
That's true.
vaping is more or less fine in my opinion, but I understand the feeling of like hopping back into an addictive behavior. I get that. Well, Godspeed to you, sir. I'm sure you'll kick it again when you really want to.
What if I never really want to?
Then so what? It's just vaping. I mean, it's probably worse to go outside and breathe the air, honestly. But I don't know. You'll be fine. Or not. Only time will tell for all of us. I've got nothing I want to say about myself, really. Not really. Do I? I don't know. This is us very planned out to the T. Let's see. What am I doing these days differently than normal? I'm on the IF train again. That's actually a good thing. That sounds like I'm like fucking like rubbing something in your face though now, because you admitted a fault and now I'm saying I'm doing something well. But see, that's because usually I'm not doing anything well.
You know, sometimes I think IF made me overeat.
I don't see how that's possible. And I should say for the listener, we're talking about intermittent fasting because we're very cool on this cool podcast.
Well, no, I have a tendency to binge eat where I'll just like eat a shit ton. And when I was doing IF, it kind of like got into my head to like, well, I need to like get 1,600 calories in like one meal.
Yeah.
But then when I go off of it, I'm still used to eating like a gigantic meal. So then I have like 3 1,600 calorie meals.
Well, that's just stupid, man.
I know,
sorry. Because, well, anyway, let's not get too deep into intermittent fasting. I just know that I feel like better, like mentally and physically as well when I do it. I don't know why. I mean, they say it gives you sort of some brain power. I shouldn't even bring this up because I'm probably going to sound like an idiot later, and then people will think, well, so much for that intermittent fasting cognitive enhancement. You fucking idiot.
No, I think there's some good approaches to it, and I think it can be a fine like lifestyle if you're responsible about it. But I found that for part of why I had to stop is because I think it actually reinforces some bad habits in me that that are just totally like my own thing. Just from reflection on it. But at first I really liked it. But I have heard that it's really good for like keeping your blood sugar stabilized.
That's the whole point of it almost, yeah. There's a lot of health benefits to it, and yeah, I mean, also like the main reason people do any of this weird shit is basically for like weight loss, but like it has other benefits from all the dumb research I did a while back about it. It weirdly sort of fits me in a way, because like, I don't know, it sort of appeals to like OCD tendencies. Like, it has to be very sort of plotted out and planned out. And like, I use a fucking app for it and stuff, and keep track of all that shit.
See, I don't like plotting out and planning out very much. But I understand.
I mean, I don't either, but when I just lived according to like pure instinct, I become a fucking monster. Like, it just means I'm drunk all day, every day, for the most part, and hating myself and all of that shit. So it gives me, I mean, I don't think it's even adjacent to an eating disorder, doing intermittent fasting, which apparently I just saw this like today on Twitter, someone being like, people need to call intermittent fasting what it is. It's a fucking eating disorder. And it wasn't like a part of some like health community or diet community. It was just like some random person on Twitter, like,
yeah, I saw that
like
tweet.
shaming people. And but anyway, my point was going to be, it does give a sort of sense of control or something. I don't know. Maybe that's what I like about it. Also, I'm usually not hungry like for several hours until after like waking up anyway. So it doesn't really feel like I'm like pushing myself or sacrificing very much. It only becomes a pain in the ass like when, I don't know, if you want to like have a nice meal with someone and it doesn't fit into your like time slot or whatever. But anyway, I should probably cut all of this. Jesus, it's so funny. Is before like the last just 10 minutes or whatever that was, I said I'm not going to talk about this, and then what did I do? Okay, let's talk about what's in the news.
Okay,
namely the coup 2021. So I've got an article here entitled "The Police Enabled the Far-Right Mob That Violently Stormed the Capitol Building." This is in Jacobin by Peter Gowan. And I have a sort of supplemental article I might read a couple lines from the enemy of Jacobin, the World Socialist website. But I'll probably just read from the Jacobin one, honestly. They're saying kind of the same information.
Yeah, you've got the three, the Jacobin, the Al Jazeera, and the World Socialist people.
Yeah, the Al Jazeera one is more about, well, we'll get to that, maybe.
Okay.
Okay. Here's the article. Let's get one thing out of the way. If the federal police did not want far-right protesters to be inside the Capitol, they would not be inside the Capitol. Last summer, the police and National Guard attacked peaceful Black Lives Matter demonstrators who dared get too close to federal buildings. Countless people, including me, were injured. Today's violence, which is incited by President Donald Trump, has seen shots fired and rioters posing at the rostrum in the House of Representatives for cameras. Would have never made it. I don't know what that is. It's some part of the building. Would have never made it past the front door without the acquiescence of federal police. Authorities offered minimal resistance to the mob sent by the president to prevent the counting of electoral votes. With few exceptions, the response has simply been to let the far-right mob pass.
Rostrum is a really pretentious way to say a podium.
Okay, cool.
Sorry, that's what I thought it was, but it just kind of like bugged me because I was like, rostrum, it must be a podium.
Oh, right, yeah, because they were posing at that podium, right? Yeah.
Rostrum.
With few exceptions, the response has simply been to let the far-right mob pass, to wait and see rather than to prevent the violence and seizure of federal property that is occurring. I guess this was written in real time then. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me quickly hop over to that World Socialist website article, which is written a few days after the fact.
Okay.
So they say...
That picture's so scary. The red-faced, like, Donald Trump thing on the screen.
Yeah.
Why is that the image they choose of him?
I mean, it does look scarier.
Like, super Big Brother-esque.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me of like a trope trend or whatever that's going around Twitter lately.
Of people asking them, of English teachers being like, use a different dystopian novel. Don't describe everything as 1984 because I've seen that going around a lot.
Yeah, it's because of what we're going to get into later about some people on the right's reaction to Donald Trump getting kicked off Twitter is to be like, this is 1984, like the fucking Prager University, that fucking shit pile. They just tweeted the number 1984. Like, it's just hilarious for so many reasons. But I'm finding the backlash to be just as annoying as the original stuff now, in a way, just because I've seen it too many times. Like, it's just going around, like, people will say something innocuous and then say, see, it's just like 1984. And it's like, okay, that was funny like the first 100 times I saw it, but it's kind of stupid now. Well, so the World Socialist website, it's titled "Details Emerge of High-Level State Involvement in Wednesday's Coup Attempt." So see, already there in the language, they're calling it a coup attempt instead of a riot. And they also point out that there's every indication that plans for a second putsch attempt on Inauguration Day are now underway, which is probably true to some extent. But I don't want to get too sidetracked here. Okay, here we go. This is more concrete examples of how... So, like, at the time that this was happening, which is when the Jacobin article was written, yeah, we saw, like, the footage of police just basically letting people through. We saw them taking selfies with the rioters, whatever we want to call them. And, but here, a few days later, so before the rally, intelligence agencies refused to investigate the plans for the insurrection that participants and organizers were openly promoting online. The Wall Street Journal revealed yesterday that the FBI and an intelligence unit inside the Department of Homeland Security didn't issue a threat assessment of the January 6 pro-Trump protests, even though such assessments are routinely made before nonviolent left-wing demonstrations and are used to prepare police crackdowns and identify participants. The Washington Post also reported Friday that the Pentagon had issued orders disarming the Washington, D.C. National Guard before Wednesday's rally. That seems weird.
It does.
Delaying any armed response for several hours pending deployments from out of state. They quote the paper here saying, the Pentagon placed tight limits on D.C. National Guard ahead of pro-Trump protests this week. In memos issued Monday and Tuesday in response to a request from the D.C. mayor, the Pentagon prohibited the district's guardsmen from receiving ammunition or riot gear, interacting with protesters unless necessary for self-defense, sharing equipment with local law enforcement, or using guard surveillance and air assets without the defense secretary's explicit sign-off, according to officials familiar with the orders. Even then, the Pentagon refused to act for several hours on a request by Maryland Republican Governor Larry Hogan to deploy his state's National Guard against the insurrectionists. On Wednesday night, Secretary of the Army Ryan McCarthy downplayed this delay, claiming there was, quote, a little bit of confusion after congressional leaders called Hogan from a bunker, begging him to deploy the Guard and save their lives. The Pentagon delayed granting Hogan's requests, which McCarthy attempted to justify by saying a lot of questions were asked, and military officials needed time to truly understand and work through how to respond. This has been incredibly fluid, he added. So it seems pretty clear that even on like the official level, there's like a I mean, however you want to decide what the reason was behind it, but there was definitely like strange, unusual behavior on the part of law enforcement and the Pentagon, surrounding this protest. And I don't know if it's in this article, but I remember seeing elsewhere that some official like security people, I don't remember exactly who it was, but they were basically saying, well, because of all this, all the things with Black Lives Matter, we're trying to take a more hands-off approach. So they're basically trying to say, like, we learned our lesson finally about being overzealous with like cracking people's heads open. It's like, oh, well, what a fucking fancy dancy coincidence that when it's an army of MAGA chuds, you're going to suddenly ease up on the security. I mean, there's a lot of ways to read into this, I guess. I mean, what do you think about this?
What do I think about it?
Yeah, I mean, what do you think the reason is that these like officials in the government were like purposely like creating a lax security measures for these people compared to any other kind of protests that are outside of the Capitol or in Washington generally?
I think it's because they were all like kind of not upper middle class, but I think most of the Magna Chuds, even though I think I sent it to you, Trump being like disappointed in how his supporters look.
Yeah. I want to, yeah.
But I think a lot of these people are kind of like, they have money, like they're probably like in fairly secure like jobs for their area of $50,000-$60,000 a year range. And that a lot of them were like white.
Yeah, I mean, so we could say just the police are racist, but I mean,
yeah.
I think
I think police are on the same social media networks, same social media bubbles that these motherfuckers are on, and I think some of the police are like big supporters of Trump. I don't think they wanted to over police this event, to be honest.
It's true. I mean, I agree with all of that, but I think maybe those are like smaller details caught up in like a larger thing of basically. I think I said this to you before we really started in earnest today, but like, these people just aren't really much of a threat. Like,
yeah.
Like what they're demanding, you know, they're not demanding that like, the government actually take action and like, I don't know, whatever sort of left wing, protests might be demanding, generally speaking. They're just, they had a single demand, and that was Trump. Give us more Trump. We want, like, in other words, I think they thought that this could be something that could be easily swept aside. And like, as much as there was like chaos and there was some violence, comparatively, like, it wasn't so bad. Like, compared to a lot of other like I mean, this wasn't like a mass shooting, you know? It wasn't, what am I trying to say? Like, the people got into the fucking Capitol, and they just fucked around. They were just like having fun, which I'm not saying it's okay, but it's like, they just acted like fools. Like, they weren't, this was not a serious coup attempt. In my opinion. And I think it was allowed to happen more or less because, if anything, it's beneficial to lump everything together, the powers that be, in a way.
Yeah, I think so too. Like,
it can be spun very, very well in favor of the Democrats, and Republicans can just like distance themselves from it, disavow it. Like, it's not going to like ruin anyone's career for the most part, except for Donald Trump, who's already like
whose career's already ruined, right?
It's done. Yeah, it's ruined. He's already a disgrace. Like,
did you see he got kicked off the his golf course got kicked off the PGA Tour, which might be the biggest blow to him, like even a bigger blow than
nothing will beat him losing Twitter, man. That's his baby.
I don't know, man. God loves golf. Like, loves golf.
He can still golf though, but he'll never be able to tweet again. I mean, we might want to. I mean, I guess we could like seek into the Twitter thing in a second here, but like, that's his fucking shit, man. That's his heroin. Tweeting. Like, I think I told you there were reports of him like wandering around like lost and depressed, like in the White House, like after his Twitter got banned, after he was banned from Twitter, and that was even before it was like permanent banning. He was like really down and out just from like the 2-week or whatever like suspension that eventually turned into the permanent ban. But yeah. So I mean, just to say a little bit more about allowing this thing to happen, as I think it more or less was, and I think you're right that there are also elements of like on like the more like the on the ground level where cops were making like individual decisions to like ease up on people, but I think a lot of it was like coming from the top down as well, because when they did eventually kind of crack down harder towards the end, and that was a decision made by people in like, you know, upper levels, of like, okay, now really hit him with the tear gas type stuff, you know. But so I think it's worth talking about how there's so much chatter from the Democrats now, from Biden himself and others, about like we need to institute all of these new laws. Like Biden's been talking about we're gonna create new domestic terrorism laws.
Yeah,
which just immediately sets off alarm bells in my head. Like, number one, we already have plenty of fucking laws against domestic terrorism.
I mean, that's all we've been getting since 9/11.
Yeah, it's like, just
literally
ramped up.
My entire adult life has been, oh my God, terrorists are invading America. We got to do everything we can to stop terrorists.
But it's also terrorists are already here too, type thing. So, but like, why doesn't this kind of talk come out after a mass shooting is what I've started thinking about. Like and we have so many of them. And I mean, I think part of the reason is you could, if you want to like put on the tinfoil hat for a moment, like there's a good chance some mass shootings are fucking CIA based. But like, even if they're not, all people do when there's a mass shooting is bemoan gun laws and then go back to life as usual. Like,
as they should.
Well, and I'm not even saying I want them to say we need to crack down on domestic terror, but call it what it is. Shooting a bunch of people in public is, if that's not terrorism, well then taking a shit on Nancy Pelosi's desk isn't terrorism either. But like, this is being labeled terrorism by Biden publicly, and saying an unprecedented act of terror and violence, which is so over the top, considering all of the acts of terror and violence that have happened in America. I don't know. It's just, it's giving me 2002, early 2002 vibes. It's feeling.
Me too. I mean, I think that.
I mean, people are saying this is just like we're gearing up for like a bulked up Patriot Act Part 2, basically.
Oh God, I hope not. The first Patriot Act was bad enough. Also, I feel like I don't agree with the Trump protesters at all, but I do worry when they start to like meta, or when use your words, Jason, when this type of meddling starts, because it's like, what else are they going to ban? Are they going to make it impossible for other protests to happen? Are they going to make it like to where there's like everyone's just like too worried about mass organizing, and like this just like ruins any chance of any type of maybe good populist movement?
That's exactly it. I mean, I think that's exactly how people are going to try to use this as a never forget 9/11 style example of like, no, you can't do this anymore because of January 6th. I'm just waiting for this to have like its own like I don't know, motto, whatever, like 9/11. It will. Do you think this will get seared into our collective memory as like, remember the 6th?
No, I mean, no, I really don't.
I could see people trying to, at least.
It seems like some people think that, but
some people literally were comparing this to 9/11, like on cable news and stuff. I forget who it was, but some lady who like worked in the Capitol, I think, said it, she was like, it reminded me of 9/11 when I was in the Capitol building when that happened. Something like that. Yeah. People are literally, there are all these people who were like, and just normal people, like posting videos of themselves like crying and I'm having a panic attack. And like, there's people like, these are like people living in like fucking Nebraska, you know, like,
yeah.
Which is exactly what 9/11 was like. Everyone wanted to be a part of it. Everyone wanted to feel involved and like let everyone see my grief. And like, Jesus, if Twitter had been around during 9/11, we would have seen like a million times more of it too.
I cannot even imagine what would have happened if Twitter had been around during 9/11. It would have just been,
and endless crying videos and like tribute videos and shit. I don't know. Yeah, so it's just like none of this feels so great.
And the thing is, I do think that like to some like I don't disagree. I think that some of the protesters, they should be punished.
Sure, of course, and they are being, but also,
especially since these are the same people who hate rioters so much and can't stand public destruction and are Blue Lives Matter people, and they're going into the Capitol building and destroying shit. So yeah, they should be punished, but I don't think we need an increase in law. I think what we need is just like, well, actually, I think we need less laws, but if we're going to have what we have, everyone should be treated the same under them, and these people simply weren't treated the same. They were given way too much freedom to do whatever they wanted during this like event.
And so far, what I've seen about the people that have been apprehended and charged is that they're also, of course, not being treated the way that, say, someone who was arrested at a Black Lives Matter protest has been treated. There was one example that I saw that was just you know, turns your stomach. Like it. So there was the guy, kind of, sort of famously, there were a lot of pictures of him going around. He was the guy who stole the mail from Pelosi's office. There's a picture of him with his feet up on her desk. And they found him, and he was one of those guys who turned out to actually be like a, you know, part of the petite bourgeoisie, whatever. And I don't know, he earned like $300,000 a year or something. He also qualified for the PPP thing. He was like getting money from the government for his small business. But anyway, they arrested him, and he's looking at like a year max in jail. And someone put like as a side by side a picture of this guy who, of course, was a black guy, and he was arrested for like throwing paint on a building during a Black Lives Matter protest, and he's serving 11 years in jail for that.
That seems about right.
Yeah. And there's like a million more examples of shit like that where like
that checks out to me.
Yeah. It's pretty nauseating. So like yeah, we to be super clear to anyone listening, we are not defending these people. We're not defending Trump from anything, but the Trump's reign is over. You know, like we got to start thinking about how the new boss is going to be spinning this thing, and we already can see what he's saying. He's saying like there's going to be like a new security state on the horizon, and the one we already have is bad enough. And like their response is to like beef it up. Like it's just not, none of it is a good sign. Doesn't bode well for the future. But so like so instead of focusing on that kind of stuff, some people are just super focused on the fact that Trump has been kicked off of a bunch of social media platforms.
As he needs to be. Because, well, America needs to get back to not reading what he has to say.
Yeah. I'm sure he'll find no other way to get his words out to the public.
I don't think it's possible that he could figure out another way to get his words out to the public.
And, like...
Sorry.
I don't want to get too into the weeds on, like... on the argument, but other than like point out that there is this argument taking place like within the left, like the actual left, not really amongst, not so much between
Democrats
liberals and leftists. Yeah. And like it seems like just very indicative of this split that you see all the time, and I feel like it comes down to like he'd be like people that defend Julian Assange and are all for like, you know, force the vote. They think Jimmy Dore's good, versus the people who don't. The people who, I don't know, like I guess they're all equally leftists, but they kind of have these different like identifying camps, and like now part of that is what side do you stand on the Trump ban. And so the people that, for lack of a better word, you know, the force the vote type leftists,
yeah,
they're talking about censorship and how, like, in making like the kind of slippery slope kind of arguments about why just banning speech that we disagree with is like a bad, you know, it's not like a legal precedent, because, you know, Twitter can do whatever the fuck they want, and with regards to that, it's not about what's legal and what's illegal right now. It's about what is good for free speech and free expression and things like that. And the other people are like firing back that like we can't tolerate intolerance, and they like kind of annoyingly posting these like this little like baby version cartoon of like Karl Popper's intolerance paradox.
Mm-hmm.
And like just kind of going like wiping wiping their hands of it, and like, yep, that's my argument. Karl Popper, also, you know, the guy who also thought that Marxists were inherently intolerant and should be.
Well, aren't Marxists inherently intolerant?
Well,
I mean, I was always under the impression that we had all agreed upon that.
Yeah, I don't agree.
I know.
And then, I mean, I'm honestly like, I'm not really. I mean, I guess the way my tone of voice just comes off now is that I'm siding a little bit more with the people who are worried about setting a bad precedent with censorship. But I'm also like, I'm not like knee jerk like reaction. Like that's not my knee jerk reaction either. Like I think there are definitely times where censorship is justified. Yeah. I just don't know if it, I mean, and some people are like, do you really even have to think about it? Trump incited an insurrection, a coup. It's like, well, whether that's even true or not, like, don't you find it just like a little strange that now is the time he's finally being kicked off? He was breaking terms of service on Twitter all the time before that. And I don't know, it's just the timing of it seems stupid. And like, regardless of even where I end up falling on the side of this argument, what I ultimately come down to is that it's not going to stop anything to remove Trump from Twitter. That's my opinion. I mean, because
I think it's,
well, yeah, tell me what you think.
Like, I think it's good that they removed him because something that I've thought about a lot, and this is totally just like, I'm going to get a little in the weeds here, but I agree with everyone who's saying this is what you get. This is what you get for banning gay people from buying a cake from a cake shop. Because places like Twitter and Facebook, they are private organizations and they don't have to give free speech. They can choose who uses their product or not. And if they don't want Trump on it, they should be able to ban him. And obviously they did want Trump on the platforms because he was making them a lot of money.
Exactly.
But I think this shows two things. It shows that if we're going to have all of our major social media be private and privatized, then we can't expect to have them as like public platforms. They should not be the go-to place of people getting their voices heard, because that's not what they are. They are private entities and they do have control over the content hosted on it. So I think this actually kind of shows that maybe there should be some type of public goods social media where anyone can post on it, but there's like stricter posting rules as far as like, you know, how you're supposed to conduct public discourse, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I think under Twitter, where Twitter is fairly like free with what you can post, that Trump said a lot of stuff that he probably shouldn't say, especially as the president. But I think had there been like, I don't know, some government funded one, I feel like I'm in the weeds here. I think it's fine for them to ban it. That's what I'm trying to say. Under the system we work in, I think they should have banned it sooner, and I think they should like take it harder, I guess. But I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, and that's a lot of what I've been seeing is like people bringing up that Twitter is a private corporation, that you know, they're not legally obligated to put anyone's ideas out there. And yeah, I don't think anyone's disagreeing with that. I mean, that's just the fact. I think a lot of people on both sides of the issue agree, also come together on the point that there should be like Twitter should be basically nationalized. But this idea that removing him is going to like, what? I mean, do people really think it's going to stop like another one of these public outbursts or something even worse? Like, of course, I mean, I don't know how anyone could believe that. And I wish I had it in front of me, and I don't, but I had the actual tweets that Twitter cited to ban him from Twitter for, and they were like very innocuous. Like they were like nothing. Like I don't think anyone could call them an incitement to violence. And that's not a defense of Trump. I understand, like the thing is he's tweeted way worse things, but Twitter let them go because, like you said, it wasn't in their best interest at the time to ban him then. Now it's fine because he's on his way out the door. So that's why it just seems, again, like a dumb gesture at the last minute, at the very last second, to be like, we disavow this man, which is not, and it's not just Twitter. Like, this is what politicians are doing. This is what other business communities and individual businesses are doing right now. I guess on some more, maybe like just a quick aside on a more lighthearted note.
Yeah.
So there was this thing traveling around that I totally bought. I thought it was real. It was this, it was supposedly the Olive Garden, like making a political stand. Did you see this?
What? The Olive Garden? Tell me about the Olive Garden's political stand, please.
Well, let me find it. Sorry, hang on a second. So,
oh yeah, I see.
The story originally was
Sean Hannity has lifetime pasta pass. What's a lifetime pasta pass?
That is the real thing, or it was. But okay, I mean, I'm sure some people already know about this, but I just wanted to read the original thing.
I probably should. My step brother-in-law is a general manager of Olive Garden. We don't really get along all that well. Luckily, he will never, ever listen to this podcast.
So this was like retweeted by a lot of people as being a real public statement from the Olive Garden. At Olive Garden, quote, "We're all family here. Our traditions, like unlimited soup, salad, and breadsticks, have been enjoyed by many guests from all over the country and throughout the entire political spectrum." It's so funny how reading this now, knowing that it's fake, it's so obviously fake, but I just believed it was real because it was just presented as real. It has come to our attention that a few of our guests had taken part in a vicious attack on our nation's capital. We have worked with the FBI and Holiday Inn in Washington, D.C. to identify several guests who both frequented our restaurants and participated in the violent uprising against our government this week. In response, Olive Garden has invalidated our never-ending pasta pass for several guests and revoked a lifetime pasta pass for Sean Hannity. Olive Garden is dedicated to creating a safe and delightful environment for our guests with what we call hospitaliano. This year has been difficult for many of us, and we cannot wait to see your family smiling in our restaurants once again. Until that time, your favorite dishes from Olive Garden are available to order online for both pickup and delivery. So,
so I wonder, if you have a lifetime pasta pass, can you also get free delivery of like free pasta whenever you want?
All right. First of all, lifetime pasta pass doesn't exist. It never has. But what does exist is the never-ending pasta pass, I believe. That was a real thing. I remember when that like started because people were just laughing about it so much, how fucking American and stupid it was.
I mean, I remember the never-ending breadsticks and salad.
No, they just basically, the logical next step was like, okay, here's a pass you can buy to just walk into an Olive Garden and eat as much as you want of anything, basically. So,
other than pizza, pasta is literally the cheapest thing to make at a restaurant. Like, as far as like overhead costs go, you can usually charge like what.
That makes sense.
I know this from having like friends in the restaurant industry, and it's probably not surprising to anyone, but like if you want to make money in the restaurant industry, pasta and pizza, they're the ways to go. They're really cheap to like mass produce, and you can mark the prices up much higher than say like a hamburger or like basically anything else.
Yeah, because you can,
like the best margins.
Can make it seem fancier with some words and some oils and sauces. So this was apparently not real at all. This was a joke that someone posted, and it got virally out of control. So bullet points here.
Of course it did.
Olive Garden did not revoke the lifetime pasta pass from Sean Hannity or the never-ending pasta pass from other patrons. The chain restaurant has been trending since Anderson Cooper said those who were involved with the Capitol Hill siege on Wednesday would, quote, go back to the Olive Garden and to the Holiday Inn they're staying at. Yeah, Anderson Cooper went off on this like really, really classist like rant about the MAGA people.
Of course he did.
A mob of pro-Trump rioters stormed the U.S. Capitol building on Wednesday, breaking windows and stealing property in an unsuccessful attempt to stop. Okay, we already know that. Sorry, I should have read that in advance. On Friday, what appeared to be an official statement from Olive Garden circulated announcing that Sean Hannity had his lifetime pasta pass revoked, but it wasn't real. This is on businessinsider.com, by the way. I guess it makes sense. Olive Garden is a business.
Olive Garden is a business, and I mean, you got to follow if Olive Garden stocks are going to tank or whatever.
Right. An Olive Garden spokesperson confirmed the memo was fake, but declined to give further comment. Right. So then the original tweet, it came down to this guy named Louis Mantia Jr. I'm not really sure how to pronounce that last name. He wrote, "This morning I made a, quote, social media statement style joke image as if it had come from Olive Garden, and I want to talk about why I made it and why I deleted it. So I am abundantly clear it is not a real statement." So and I mean, I don't know if there's much more to say about it. It was just a joke and people bought it. I mean, I think the most interesting thing is that
I bought it when you told it.
And even, I think I even told you it wasn't real before I read about it.
But my brain instantly was like, that has to be real. That just has to be real.
I mean, that's
the most American thing I've heard.
That's the funniest thing about all of it is how easily people bought it. And then like in retrospect, it sounds like a joke when you read it again. Anyway, so there was that. And then I think there were other examples. The only other one I can remember right away is that Axe body spray weighed in on everything.
Oh, of course. Why wouldn't they weigh in on everything?
And I think I saw it like retweeted by Luke Savage maybe, and it was really funny. I didn't look into like the thing he had retweeted though. I just kind of saw the
hot take or whatever.
The title or whatever. But so Axe body spray official account. What they were responding to, when they said this, we'd rather be lonely than with that mob. Axe condemns yesterday's acts of violence and hate on the Capitol. We believe in the democratic process and the peaceful transition of power. And they were responding to a picture of some broken shit and a can of Axe body spray in the Capitol that one of the protesters presumably left there. So they like felt the need to distance themselves because their product was found like by some broken shit. I don't know. Anyway, there were I think some other. I mean, naturally, of course, like. Just thinking like, corporations just like playing off of this, like, we believe in democracy. It's just like, shut the fuck up. People are still going to buy your shit, whether you say this or not. But I guess some people, I mean, the stuff must work on some people, I guess. Otherwise, why would they do it? I don't know. I'm just thinking of a really funny example of this kind of thing, though. When SpaghettiOs... on like maybe like a couple of years ago, it was like the anniversary of 9/11. They like, and there's like so many examples of corporations like just posting these super cringe things like about 9/11 remembrance. But like it was like the little SpaghettiO like mascot like holding an American flag and being like never forget, something like that. I don't know. Just that shit is. It's very emblematic of the United States in a really dark, twisted way.
It reminds me of Freedom Fries and like everything that's led past Freedom Fries for like a very long time. At least the SpaghettiO thing.
Yeah, it's similar. I mean, like even the Freedom Fries thing was like that was just like a. That was like a meme or whatever, like a living meme or whatever, not a visual.
It was real.
One.
It happened, right?
Well, some restaurants did actually put that on their like change their menu to that, yeah. But
okay,
it was more just like it was in the really extreme, anti-French moment where people were like, because people were also just pouring out like bottles of French wine on the street and stuff. I mean, this was all just like Fox News, like hysteria stuff. I think Bill O'Reilly was a big driver of that in particular.
I'm sick of the fucking Fox News.
But like when corporations themselves actually like officially get in on this stuff, it just seems even sicker to me somehow. Like, I don't know. What was I going to say? I guess that's probably it about that. Damn it. I just had a brain hemorrhage.
Just had a thought that fleeted from your brain like, God damn it. Sorry, like a congressman being escorted out of a hostile scene. I liked the take that they finally got to see what it felt like to be a school child in a school shooting.
Yeah.
Even though they didn't get to actually see violence.
I was going to say, like, that's almost, like, too extreme. Like,
I almost wish that more gun... oh, I'm going to get censored for this. I almost wish more gunfire had went off. Not necessarily that many people would... I didn't want anyone to die, but maybe just enough to, like, convince them, like, maybe there should be better gun control.
To convince who? The Congress people?
Yeah, to convince the Congress people who are in the fucking NRA's pockets.
You know, one of the things about
maybe if they started getting shot, they would like do something about it.
Oh,
their Congress people arguing is like, if we were allowed to have guns in Congress, like fucking Senator of Texas or something. I don't know who that is. I imagine he's a gun guy.
Well, remember like back in the Bush years, there was a Congress, Gabby Giffords. She was shot in the head and she lived.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
She was Republican, and I'm not sure if she changed her tune on gun control stuff after that or not. I'm looking right now.
No, I think she ended up wanting like stricter gun control after.
You would think so. At least she would say that out loud. But
I'm
like,
pretty sure.
I also wouldn't be shocked if she just like doubled down and was like, if there had been a good guy with a gun, this wouldn't have happened to me, you know. Sorry, I don't know why I changed her voice like that.
Basically been proven that that's not how it works, that the good guy with the gun theory is, well, just bad. But I'm sure you already know that.
Yeah.
Usually just gets more people hurt.
The thing that's weird about that, though, too, to think about is that who do people call, though, right away when shots start going off?
Cops?
Yeah, why? Because they have guns.
Trained good guys with guns?
I guess they're trained good guys with guns. Maybe that's the difference. Or, they're supposed to be that.
Yeah, I think that's supposed to be the difference, is that they're trained good guys with guns.
Yeah, and I know what you mean. I'm not going to get. I'm not saying we need a good guy with a gun. I'm just saying it's something that I think people that have like a sort of unquestioning, just sort of like indoctrinated, like, I'm against guns because I'm a Democrat, like people who don't think things through, like it's something they should think about sometimes. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Just saying that, like, when I've thought that through, it like makes it even clearer to me what the problem is.
I am against guns. Like, I don't know. I don't think they have to be completely banned, but I think that the licensing should be a lot stricter, and what you're allowed to own should also be a lot stricter. But that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, it is. So, sort of circling back here, we took the side route with the Axe body spray / Olive Garden.
Maybe that's what made
me
think of guns.
Is this idea of deplatforming fascists or people that say things we don't like. I don't know. I think there is a place for that, but I think also the zeal with which some people are so excited to just like shut people down concerns me.
I think it's a little scary. Yeah,
it concerns me because I mean, these are such old arguments. And I I get why people would be sort of worn out by hearing them again and again, but I mean, obviously there's a reason they come up again and again, because it's a real thing to consider. But like, I mean, the whole argument is like, well, then what happens when this shit gets used against the left? And some people's weird counter argument has been, well, this shit has been happening to people on the left, and so now it's time
should happen to people on the right too.
Exactly. Now it's time for their comeuppance, and it's like, well, that doesn't help. That doesn't help the left. All you're doing is, I mean, it really is kind of like a sinking to their level type mentality, and like. And look, I think, and some people are saying, well, why are these pro-free speech people talking about it now? And they weren't making a big deal before. It's like, first of all, you don't know that they weren't making a big deal about people being banned before. But second of all, because this is a huge deal, people are all eyes are on this story of Trump being deplatformed. He's like the Twitter guy. I mean, like, even all these people on the left, all these fucking ironic, like, podcasting people or whatever, all they've been doing is like, save all of Trump's great epic tweets, you know, we can't lose these. He was the greatest poster of all time and all this stuff. And I get that it's like a joke or whatever. My point is just that, like, if now isn't the time to have the conversation about censorship, then when is? You know what I mean? Like,
totally.
Also, it's definitely the time to have the conversation about like big tech's like pernicious, like huge influence over the way people get their information. And yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing to be talking about with this whole thing is just like, these companies should be nationalized, more or less, or there should be a platform, just a different platform created that is a true like town square type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. Like
that has no commercial connections whatsoever, and is just. I mean, that would that even be that hard to do, to create like a government Twitter? I don't think it would be at all. But of course, like Twitter and Facebook and all these huge companies would be doing everything in their power, which is pretty vast, to stop something like that, because they know people would probably jump ship for something like that. I think. I know I would. I don't know. Maybe we can set that aside for now, but. Sort of also getting back to the reason I don't think deplatforming Trump really positively even affects anything. The reason I don't think that it's like a great blow to the fascist uprising is, well, I saw this great quote this morning from one of our fave guys from Jacobin, Branko Marcetic.
Yeah.
He said, the countermeasures in response to the Capitol protests / riot literally make no sense. We knew about the event in advance because it was planned online. So let's push them offline where we won't see it. We suspect law enforcement was complicit. So let's reward them with more power. I mean, obviously he's being facetious. I think that to me, that condenses everything that I've been saying in like a million words down to like, you know, two or three sentences really well. Yeah, there's this urge of even people that are like more or less like quote good leftists, like in my opinion, some of them are like really, I don't know. It's almost like who's truly like edging towards fascism here. Like, if your happy response is, let's purge all these chuds from the internet, and like, let's give the military and the police more power over our lives, so that they can really, prevent this from happening again. That makes us sound like that makes them sound like on the same level as like neocons in after 9/11 in a weird way. The way they would talk about terrorism.
Yeah, it does. It really.
It seems like a kind of a clear parallel to me, and it's worrisome when even like when you're seeing that on the left. And well, let's see what's the difference between like now and when George W. Bush was kind of fresh in office in 2001. Well, Biden's a Democrat. That's basically the only difference. And of course, this event is not like 9/11, but people are kind of treating it like it is this, like, there's going to be this like history making, like this is before and after. There's like before the coup and after the coup. And it's a new era now.
I mean, it is a new era. I mean, this is an important event. I've never seen anything like this happen on the White House, but I don't think it's like a 9/11.
It's not even close. Like that. I mean, that's just insulting to people who died in 9/11. Really. Also, an almost weirdly an insult to the hijackers who did 9/11, because maybe that's not the right way to look at it. But I'm saying like there was way more like planning and shit involved, and I don't know. Never mind. Forget that I said that.
No, I get what you mean. It's just like
I'm saying they're just very different things, obviously.
I mean, this was a what's the word? This was a. Was this even a protest? I guess this was a protest that got out of hand, that got out of control, and turned into a riot. And this type of stuff happens in a riot. It's a shame that people got hurt. I don't even know if this was truly an act of terrorism. This was definitely an act of like, destruction of property, assault. I'm sure all that stuff happened, but I don't know if this was actively. I don't think this was actively terrorism. I don't think this was actually a planned coup, which is probably going to get me like in trouble for saying. But
nobody cares who listens to us. But like, go on. Sorry,
but I think that these people got there and they're like, yeah, and super motivated, sort of like that rock concert energy, and then they just kept going and egging it on and on and on, and things just got out of hand.
And I think there were like, there were different factions within the crowd. I think some of them were armed. I mean, I know some of them were armed, and some of them were probably planning to get into the Capitol at some point. But it wasn't like a mass, super well coordinated event either. Like, I think we know that because there were like 20,000 people at the initial rally that Trump spoke at, and about 1,000 at most actually like moved on the Capitol, like rushed the Capitol. Like that, I think that's like at most 1,000. I forget exactly what the numbers were. Like 1,000 people were like marched to the Capitol and were outside, and then like some fraction of that actually broke through and like got inside the building. Because all the footage I saw, it didn't look like 1,000 people were running around inside the building. It looked like maybe 100 or something at most. But in any case, I think this is going to be used kind of in the way that 9/11 was used to justify a lot of overreach.
I think it'll be used to, even though I think DC has like one of the highest budgets for like police in like the entire nation.
Yeah,
I think it'll be used to
probably only second
not
to
defund
New York.
the police, but it'll be used to fund more police stuff.
No, I mean Biden's been saying the entire time, his entire campaign, he's going to increase funding to the military and the police. There's like no. He's not being coy about it. He's been saying it, and now he's really saying it. Now he's like, okay, we also need new domestic terrorism programs. Like, this all just doesn't bode well. Like, it gives me a real sinking feeling, like more than my normal sinking feeling. But here's just another reason why I think that deplatforming Trump doesn't really stop much. I mean, it might. I'm sure it has some effect, but sorry, I think so. Some people are turning on him already. Is my point. So I've got this article from Politico. I'm just gonna read like a little bit.
Sure, go for it.
The title is, quote, "Coward. MAGA Internet turns on Trump. The president acknowledged his defeat and urged for political reconciliation. His online faithful didn't take it well." And I wouldn't think they would. I mean, I think I talked about this in the last episode, like when he called them intruders and stuff. And I'm actually kind of surprised more people didn't turn on him right away. But I think especially Q-type people could easily, like, they could kind of spin this around in their warped Q minds as like, oh, well, he has to say that. It's all part of his greater plan, you know, kind of in the way that like religious people throw the faith card down type stuff.
Sure.
But here we go. After years of fidelity, Donald Trump's most ardent online fans have finally turned on him. All it took was for the president to acknowledge the reality of his loss a little over a day after they, the mega faithful, stormed the Capitol in a violent attempt to stop the certification of President-elect Joe Biden's win. People were willing to, this is a quote, "People were willing to die for this man, and he just threw them all under the bus. That's the only thing that's shameful about the events of the past 36 hours. Nick Fuentes, the host of America First podcast and the unofficial leader of the white nationalist Groyper Army, angrily tweeted. I just gotta say, I don't know who this guy is, but his last name is Fuentes, and he's the leader of a white nationalist army or something. Anyway, apparently the Proud Boys are like racially diverse as well, which is weird. But go on.
I've been so confused by that in the past. I've just stopped even trying to figure it out.
Well, I mean, they do claim that they're not racist. I mean, they say they're not racist.
But I met like a few years ago, like 2017, 2016, I knew a gay guy in Korea who was like loosely friends. Not my friend, but my roommate that I lived with forever. He was gay and one of the best people I know. But I think he was a Tinder person that he had met. Mm-hmm. And I think we only met him like one time because it turned out he was like a giant supporter of like Trump, and he was like in like the coalition of like gay people that support Republicans. And every time I see that, I'm just like, why?
Yeah.
Why? It's like Peter Thiel, the PayPal fucking monster.
Well, I mean, I get what you mean, but like Trump, Trump isn't like openly hostile towards gay people, I don't think.
That's true, but I feel like the party is openly hostile.
Oh, the party is for sure. But those what are they called? Log cabin Republicans, they've been around forever too. Like even when the Republicans were even
Log cabin Republicans? I don't think I've heard of that.
Oh, they're a group of gay Republicans that have been around for like since the 90s probably. Yeah, and it always does seem weird because it's like they're literally trying to revoke your like some basic rights and so on. It doesn't make sense, but I don't know. People manage to justify all the weirdest shit in their minds. I don't know. Let's see. I guess what I would say is that I would find it weirder, like kind of. It makes slightly almost more sense that there could be gay people that like Trump than say past Republican presidents.
Yeah, Trump also included Pence.
Yeah, when you throw Pence in, then it really doesn't make sense. But that's another thing though about the MAGA people is they hate Pence. I think they've always hated Pence.
You think so?
Like, the reports are that they were like looking for him, trying to kill him.
Well, yeah, I didn't know they always hated Pence. I thought that the turn on Pence was recent because he was refusing. Trump really wanted him to do the thing where he, I guess, would
just
the Senate.
refused to certify the count.
Yeah, refused to certify the
which
vote.
he can't do anyway. But like, yeah, but I think some of the more hardcore, at least, people, and this is me not knowing enough about what goes on in like the social media world of the right, but I feel like I've heard that like from kind of the beginning, like people didn't like Pence, and they would justify his being there as like, oh well, he has to do that in order to like get the vote of like the religious nuts or whatever.
Yeah,
because there's definitely people like. This is not the Republican Party of like the Bush era where we think that like every one of them are like pious or hypocritical.
And I think I sometimes get confused about
evangelicals. Like that was one of the other things is like some of these guys were like smoking weed and stuff when they broke through, and like they were like getting high together and like
don't get high and do this type of stuff.
Well, they were like one of the accounts I read about yesterday of someone who's actually in the Capitol, but like as a reporter, not like a participant. He's like said he walked by like Nancy Pelosi's office and like 2 or 3 like mega guys were like just getting stoned in there and like offered him some. And then like what was the other really funny thing? Shit, I can't remember. Oh yeah, like he was interviewing people and they were saying like that they like as it was happening, like while they were in the Capitol, they were saying, well, we're not violent. This is a non-violent protest. And he's like, or they were even saying like, we're not breaking stuff like BLM does. And then he's like, just like looks around and points at a broken thing. And they're like, nah. And they just like, it just like doesn't compute for them. But, that's how like sort of religiously deluded these people are about this kind of shit. But just to continue a little bit about people turning on Trump here. Cassandra Fairbanks, a prominent MAGA activist, tweeted, "He tells angry people to march to the Capitol and then proceeds to throw his supporters under the bus." Jacob Wohl, the political dirty trickster known for failed plots to incriminate Trump critics, reposted her tweet on his Parler page. And when far-right stunt journalist and failed congressional candidate Laura Loomer posted Trump's concession video on Parler, she wrote, "It's over. Life is about to become very hard for conservatives in America." The people in her replies were aghast that she acknowledged Trump's own words. "He did not concede. It's his new administration that will be coming in." All caps, I should say. One respondent wrote, a sentiment repeated ad nauseum down her feed. So yeah, a lot of people who didn't turn are just in like crazed denial about it, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the scary things, and one of the reasons I do think that platforms like social media, and I know I'm going to sound like just a run-of-the-mill sort of Democrat right now, but some of that stuff, like, does need to be moderation online to some degree. I'm not saying, like, cancel free speech, but, like, the best groups on, like, a lot of forums, like, I know Reddit has all its problems, but there's some Reddits I like, and usually the best Reddits are the ones that have good moderation, that make sure people are staying on topic and following posting guidelines. And I think that when it's someone like a public figure like the president, there should be certain like decorum you have to follow. You should not be able to like the president of all people shouldn't just be out there tweeting whatever the fuck they want to, especially when it's untrue stuff, because then it's like, that's dangerous.
It is. I agree. But like, where have they been for the last 4 years? Again, I ask. Like,
well,
but also,
money.
Right. But then also put Trump aside. A lot of the people that are saying like this is an act of anti-fascism to like deplatform these people. They don't want to just deplatform Trump. They want to deplatform like everybody who supports Trump, essentially, in a way, because I don't know. What I'm getting at is that like Marchetti said, like, is it better that we just like make them go further underground so we don't know what's going on? Like, I don't know. There's like there's always going to be somewhere else to go on the internet. So like to me, all it does is make us feel better for like a moment to be like, fuck you, Trump, you lose the thing you like. And I'm fine with that. I get how that's like funny and hilarious to take away the thing he loves the most. And I don't give a shit about Trump and his feelings or any of that. It's just about I don't think we should be so quick to rush in and be like, censorship rules. It's being intolerant of intolerance or whatever.
But that's not really, I'm not really trying to say censorship rules.
I know you're not saying that. I'm not even responding to, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just mean more of, censorship does not rule, but I think there's a difference between censorship and moderation. Like, I think making sure, like, when things are in a public forum, that a certain amount of moderation is good. But I do think something that's scary to me is if we're going to keep relying on places like Twitter or Facebook or, heaven forbid, Parler to be the moderators, that's bad because they're private entities. And, like, a private entity is going to have their best interest in heart as far as the moderation goes. Whereas, like, what I want, if there's going to be, like, if politicians should take to the internet to, like, get their ideals out there. I actually think that's true because it's, like, the easiest, like, form of communication. But if they're going to do it, that should be through, like, an actual public channel, which doesn't really exist right now. I guess there's whitehouse.gov, but there should be, like, a public forum. It shouldn't be, like, Twitter.
Yeah, we totally agree on that. I just think that, like, what people are so gleeful about is, like, Trump has nowhere to go because, like, he's literally been banned on, like, everything, including, like, Etsy and shit. Like,
I know that's nuts. I think the funniest one's TikTok. Just because of
imagining him on TikTok.
Because I can't imagine him on TikTok, but also just because he tried to ban TikTok, which I don't think worked.
Right.
It's crazy. Like,
it did not work.
I don't really use TikTok, but in a way, I think it's by far the best, like, social media platform. Just because I think the post I've seen, at least, which maybe I've only seen the viral stuff or what's been shown to me, seem like they take a lot more creativity than what I'm used to seeing on Instagram or Facebook, where everyone, like, seems to just be trying to show their best life or their best selves, which is kind of just, like, boring.
Yeah, I don't really know personally. I know you've told me that before, and I saw something, like, just the other day, and now I can't remember what it was, but it made me think of you saying that because it was, like, really bad, and it was through TikTok. But
well, I mean, there's going to be bad stuff on all of them.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you about, like, moderating internet groups and stuff is usually a good idea, but that's like. But that's not what Facebook and Twitter are doing necessarily. And then and forget about Trump for a moment. Like all of the Facebook groups that you hear about just getting, like, wiped out for, like, and then, like, actually, like, ones that have literally nothing to do with being pro MAGA or pro Trump get caught up in these, like, sweeping, like, purges, basically. Which, like, you know, on one hand, it's like whatever, what's the big deal to Facebook group? But maybe it is a big deal to some people that use it, like, or like on Reddit, like when they got rid of the Donald or whatever. They got rid of that, right? It's like the big Reddit.
When they got rid of the Donald was the same time they got rid of the Chapo.
Well, the
Reddit.
Chapo thing was just like it was Chapo and Come Down, I think both got, like, swept up in it somehow, and it's like, well, how does that make any fucking sense?
Well, I think they wanted it to be fair. If they were getting rid of the Donald, they had to get rid of these, like.
Yeah, but see, that's exactly what I mean. That kind of decision making is idiotic, and, like,
because corporations are going to do their moderation to be what's they consider in their best interest, like what's best for their shareholders. That's why I'm trying to say that I think there should be moderation, and I guess I agree with people that, like, so, like, something that's happened with email. Email is kind of like a weird platform where it's an open platform, as in Google can make an email client or Microsoft can make an email client. It's an open platform. I think Twitter or Facebook, with the size they are now, they should be required to be, like, open platforms. There shouldn't be a monopoly on their, like, software, actually someone else should be able to make a client that interacts with Twitter and posts to the same like servers as Twitter, but maybe under a different interface. Like if I want to go to Joshua Itter because you decided to make your own Twitter interface, but it should be an open interface like email, and that way it's forced to follow rules defined by the community instead of just being like controlled by one organization, which I think is where a lot of the problems come from.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Or this tech stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I have much more to say about this censorship, free speech stuff really at the moment.
I mean, I think it's a really complex topic, and like I'm all for free speech, but I think that but I also think that to a certain degree what's said in public has to be moderated, especially when it's coming from like leaders.
I agree that
does that make me sound like I'm against free speech? Because that's not what I'm trying to get at here. I'm just trying to say there's like,
because there's caveats, and that like, so some free speech people might say there should be no but. You should just be, I'm for free speech, period. See, I don't agree with that. I think that's its own kind of zealotry as well. But like, the people I'm more disturbed by this last couple of days are the people who are like just kind of scoffing at the people worrying about free speech and just saying it's so obvious why Trump needs to be thrown off and why like his minions need to be like purged. You know, just shut the fuck up and like accept it. If you don't accept it, you're a fascist. You're pro-fascist, and like I can't agree with. But we're kind of repeating myself here. Should you kind of push forward a little bit?
Yeah, let's push forward.
So I guess I kind of want to look at this other Jacobin article about what's it called? The Washington riot was a defeat for the far right, not a triumph. I think there's something to the idea that, like, in the same way that we were talking about how the security apparatus, like the military and police in DC, basically allowed the riot to happen more or less. I feel like that goes hand in hand with the way that so many people are suddenly turning on Trump when it's very convenient to do so in like the very last moments of his presidency. The Washington riot was a defeat for the far right, not a triumph. What, you might say? Or some people might say. Let's find out why. Or why the title is such. The riot at the Capitol on Wednesday was a symptom of right-wing weakness, not power. The real danger isn't a mega coup, but a restoration of the neoliberal status quo that produced the nightmare of Trump and his minions. The attack on the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday by a mob of Trump supporters reinvigorated fears of a fascist threat to liberal democracy. Social media posts and liberal magazines of record immediately characterized the rampage as a coup. In a somber speech delivered while the occupation was still underway, Joe Biden described it as a, quote, unprecedented assault on American democracy, quote, unlike anything we've seen in modern times. I have a lot of issues with that. I think there have been plenty of attacks on American democracy that they're just not people storming a building, but that's another thing. But and also American democracy isn't real. But alarming as the scenes were in alarming as the scenes in Washington were, these events in fact represented a significant defeat for the far right. The riot and its quick repudiation by the political and economic elite made plain that there is currently little base in the state or among big capital for a Trumpist coup, despite the apparent and unnerving participation of police and security forces. Wednesday's violence was certainly disturbing, but with so much focus on the political rise of fascism, we risk losing sight of the more immediate threat posed by a new president, backed by all the forces of state and capital, strengthened by the riot, and determined to restore the neoliberal status quo. Elite backlash. Over the past 4 years, extreme right-wing groups like the Proud Boys became core constituents of the mainstream Republican Party base. The political and rhetorical style of Trumpism, the political conflicts it created, carved out space for these groups to mobilize and organize. Throughout his presidency, Trump chose to consolidate his hard right base rather than fashion a wider centrist coalition. This allowed these groups to build and increasingly enter the political mainstream. Trump was the first president in modern history elected with very little backing from big capital. That I'm not so sure about, honestly, but I mean, I guess relatively less than presidents normally have. I mean, there was more large corporate money behind Clinton, I guess, than behind Trump. I guess I'm just thinking about, like, Trump often said, like, he was going to be, like, self-funded, and which was just not true. I mean, he definitely had money from, like, shady, shadowy areas pumped into his campaign. But anyway.
Of course.
The chaotic, personalistic, and kleptocratic nature of his administration meant that he remained a problematic representative of the general interests of the capitalist class. Nevertheless, prior to the pandemic, tax breaks, deregulation, economic growth, and a booming stock market allowed him to enjoy quiet support among Wall Street and big business, and to build a sufficient popular constituency.
True. Had this pandemic never happened, I'm actually fairly certain that, the riot would have never happened, the coup, but also I think Trump would have won because the stock market was doing really well, and that seems to be the only thing that people vote on is how fucking well the stock market's doing, even though it means nothing for regular people.
Well, and it's also what Wall Street and big business, like, I mean, you can't really underestimate how powerful these big entities are, these financial entities. Like, they kind of decide who's going to be fucking running things, like who's going to be the public face of the government in a big way. I mean, I don't even think that should be, it's not even controversial to say, at least in my mind. It's just obvious that, like, we don't have a democracy. Like, I mean, yes, we vote, but, like, who decides who we get to vote on, you know? And how easy is it to tip the scales in one or the other's favor? Or, you know, why do giant companies give both candidates, like, equal amounts of money a lot of the time? Because they're ready to support whoever from either party, as long as they don't stray too far from, you know, the status quo, what's needed to, like, keep their interests, I don't know, in mind. And then that's the reason, yeah, they didn't turn on Trump this whole time. And that's the biggest thing I want to get at here. So, like, when you read that, the tax breaks, deregulation, economic growth, booming stock market, I mean, that's all the same shit that, say, a neocon like George W. Bush had going for him, or all a neocon like Bill Clinton had going for him. Like, it doesn't matter that they're from different political parties. Like, business was happy to have either of them in there. Anyway, yet in the course of his refusal to accept the results of the 2020 presidential election, these bases of support shrank to the most militant core. In the wake of the siege on the Capitol, whatever inroads these hard right forces made into mainstream politics appear to have collapsed, at least for now. And see, that's what I think this deplatforming is. It's just like, it seems very symbolic, like a symbolic thing of this. It's like, you are no longer welcome. You are no longer let into this club that you kind of snuck into somehow. Bye-bye.
See you later.
This will only serve to deepen the crisis of the Republican Party, members of which either endorsed or at least accepted Trumpism with various degrees of enthusiasm over the past 4 years. The takeover of the Capitol has laid bare the lack of backing, both among corporate elites and within state institutions, for far-right authoritarianism. Capitol, it seems, is still committed to liberal democracy, which has served to safeguard its interests throughout American history. Trump was unable to build a base of power within the state sufficient to usurp its normal constitutional and juridical processes. As shown in his ongoing battle with the deep state, in quotes, the alienation of the military and national security apparatuses. I should say, and the alienation of the military and national security apparatuses. On Sunday, none other than Dick Cheney organized every living Secretary of Defense to sign a statement published in the Washington Post repudiating Trump and insisting the armed forces would not participate in efforts to overturn the election. Oh, God. It feels so good to be on the right side of history with Dick Cheney. Now, major businesses... Sorry, scratch that. Start again. Now, major business organizations have issued some of the harshest statements on their histories, rebuking Trump and calling for an end to the chaos of his presidency. See Axe body spray and Olive Garden, for example. No, those are not. I mean, that's not the same thing. This is much more big time than that, actually. For example, the National Association of Manufacturers, which generally leans Republican, has been the strongest source of business support for Trump. They called for Trump to be removed from office. Similarly, the larger and more powerful Business Roundtable also issued a strong condemnation and demanded Wednesday evening that Congress move ahead that night in declaring Biden the president-elect. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink and JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon each issued their own condemnations, along with many others. There's a link to many others from a cross-section of American businesses. Even before Wednesday's events, the capitalist class had soured on Trump. In days after the election, leading CEOs met to coordinate a business response to Trump's anticipated contestation of the election results. If this gathering of a literal committee for the management of the common affairs of the whole bourgeoisie indicated anything, it was that they saw securing political stability and ensuring the integrity of liberal democratic institutions as squarely in their interest. Okay, so this is all to say that this is just more like jumping ship. Like before, you were listing off all the people like within his cabinet who were like bailing at the last minute, right? Like Betsy DeVos and all those people. And it's just so, it seems so transparently obvious to me what's going on. Like what I'm trying to say is like, don't applaud these people. Don't applaud fucking Axe body spray, or Dick Cheney or the National Association of Manufacturers or any of these people who are like suddenly have the wherewithal to disavow Trump. Like they've been or Twitter for that matter. Don't praise Twitter for what they're doing. There's all the same. It's all the same impulse, all coming from the same place of just, it's time to turn our business over to Biden. He's our man now. Like that's all they're saying. Like it's not an ethical move. Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
So I don't know. I don't know if I have any like larger point about it really, but I just think that a lot of this hand wringing and like and worrying about the coup and about how important it is to kick Trump off of Twitter, it makes me think people don't really believe what they're saying.
Yeah, I can see that. People are just trying to get what they want out of. No, that's not it. Sorry.
I mean, people know where their fucking bread is buttered, and it's not by bitter ex-presidents, you know, like, so they, of course it's so easy for them to disavow Trump now. It's so easy for Twitter to fucking throw him off now. Let's please not call this like acts of bravery and shit. That's all I'm saying. Like, none of these people are being brave. It's so obviously just calculating and out of pure self-interest. Like you pointed out, Chris Christie coming out and saying, Trump's a bad guy. Who gives a fuck? Why is that even on? Why is that making the major news like cycle right now? I don't know. I just hate how fucking false all of it is, I guess. And there's some things we can point at, and one in particular that we that show that I think a lot of these people that are so up in arms about what's going on coup wise and rising fascism wise, like, they're seized by this non-controversy about Kamala Harris on the cover of Vogue right now.
Who gives a fuck? I mean, the picture looks fine. There's nothing wrong with it.
It's
a fucking Vogue picture.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. And I mean, maybe I'm overstating how many people are really caught up in it, but it's becoming a story, at least like in certain realms in online. People are seeing this picture of Kamala Harris, which is like, this is just it's just free propaganda from Vogue magazine, but they're still not happy enough with it because they're saying she didn't get to wear the outfit that was agreed upon, apparently. And then they're like now nitpicking through it to show every reason why it's like an intentionally bad photo, which is supposedly trying to undermine her authority and her the legitimacy of her vice presidency, which is just like insanely paranoid and stupid. But I don't know. I mean, that's just kind of a sideshow, kind of hilarious thing I saw when I woke up today. Also, I mean, maybe I'm making too much out of this as well. Someone can maybe correct me, but like, I think forget about the thing I just said about Vogue, but look at like what Congress did almost immediately after the, what did Biden call it? Unprecedented violent insurrection or whatever. How did Congress react to that? Well, they tweeted that they're going to try to impeach him. Haven't made any forward movement on that, as far as I can tell. Also, it would mostly just be a fucking like photo op type gesture more than anything. If they did, but I think go ahead.
Okay with them impeaching him.
I'm not against it, but I'm saying like it just seems more signaling, like more. I might as well just say the word, not just say virtue signaling. It's a virtue signaling thing. It's like, look, we're on the right side of history now. Look,
would it be something like, imagine if everyone came down to the floor and withheld a vote to try to force a Medicare for all vote?
No, that's
just virtue signaling.
See, that's just performative. That has no real world consequences. But
but this is performative.
I know, it very much so is.
Show us that you can do something performative, even if you're doing something that matters less.
I don't think they'd be able to. I think they still wouldn't be able to impeach him anyway, because there's enough people in the House, Republican wise, who, even though they're saying they disavow like these acts or whatever, they still can't completely sever their ties from Trump like publicly, because people in there, wherever they're representing in their state, like Trump too much for them to risk doing that, because they don't want to risk their, they've got an election coming up in another 2 years. But in any case, on a prediction level, I don't think they're even, if they even attempt to impeach him, I don't think it will work. And I wouldn't be surprised if they just don't even attempt it, honestly. But maybe they will. I mean, it's what people are like hungry for. And on like a non-performative level, it would prevent him from running again. Apparently there is a way around that, but it would never happen. He could request to whoever is in Congress at the time to like be allowed to run again.
Yeah, he's not going to run again. I was actually thinking there was a possibility that he would run again, but I've since give up on. I mean, not give up. I'm since like came to terms that that's not going to happen. Came to terms. Something like I want him to run again. I don't want him to run again, but what I mean is I used to worry. Like I had a brief worry after the election that he would run again and come back even stronger than the first time.
Well, because there was a lot of open worrying about that in the media. Like I remember seeing that, and it was just based on nothing, but people were speculating that he's going to announce his bid for the 2024 on Inauguration Day, which would be a fucking hilarious move if he did that.
It would be.
But no, he's done. I mean, if he really did orchestrate this coup, and I think there's a good chance he did incite it. I mean, he obviously didn't do it directly, but like, it's just a really pathetic like last gasp of air of his presidency, just trying to hang on desperately. It's like, maybe I can pull this out at the last second. And but I think it's fucking over. I don't think he would have gone on TV and said what he said about like, everybody needs to back off. I'm done. Like, let's move on. I forget exactly what his real words were, but that was essentially the sentiment.
That was essentially it. Yeah.
And yeah, like I was reading about before, people are like turning on him because of it, and I guess understandably so. But that was one more thing I wanted to read. You actually kind of referred to it. It was actually a thing I sent to you, not the other way around. But like, fuck, I had it somewhere. Give me a second. Oh,
yeah, no problem.
Okay. So there was an article in New York Magazine called "Senior Trump Official: We Were Wrong. He's a fascist." And like, the article itself is interesting, but I don't want to go through the whole thing. But it's basically about, I mean, I'll put a link to it. But it's just it's again on this theme of people jumping ship. It's one of the top administrators in the administration, just talking shit about Trump, and like saying how fucked everything's been over the last 4 years. You know, now is the time to say it. Now is when it counts.
Everyone can. Well, now that the Death Star is about to explode, it's okay to say this shit.
Yeah. But there's one part of it, and this is part of what you alluded to earlier when Trump was watching the footage of the riots on TV. Here we go. This advisor, who spoke to Trump on Wednesday amid the siege, said Trump watched the events on television intently. CNN reported that he was so excited by the action, it freaked out some staffers around him. The advisor told me that Trump expressed disgust on aesthetic grounds over how, quote, low class his supporters looked. He doesn't like low-class things, the advisor said, explaining that Trump had a similar reaction over the summer to a video of Brad Parscale. I don't remember the event happening, by the way.
I don't either.
Brad Parscale? I don't know this guy's name. His former campaign manager, shirtless and drinking a beer in his driveway during a mental health emergency in which police tackled him and seized his weapons. Quote, he kept mentioning, "Oh, did you see him in his beer shirt?" He was annoyed. To him, it's just low class, in other words. Anyway, I just thought that was funny. Oh, also, he goes on to say that Trump offered like everybody on the staff a pardon, like one of those preemptive like pardons. He was just like offering them out to like everybody, and some people actually turned it down weirdly because I mean that's probably their way of saying they don't think they've done anything wrong.
Sure,
but I guess just like pardons are just being like tossed around like fucking candy at a parade or something, and I almost thought when I read that, like, oh, that just seems weirdly generous. But then I remembered, of course, he's just covering his own ass. like, please don't say anything bad about me. It's really, he just sounds so pathetic. I mean, I've been saying this for weeks. Like, he seems very pathetic. Like he's always been pathetic, but now he's really like outwardly pathetic. Let's see. There's probably like one last kind of basic topic to get at, and then we get out of here. Yeah. Oh, I just remember though what I was. Whatever. We went off on the whole thing about impeachment, but what I was gonna say right before, like at that point, was how I think it shows a lack of Congress really taking things seriously. And I said this on another episode, but I just feel like it's something I don't see people talking about. And so it makes me think maybe I'm just missing something here, but it's fucked up that they just took a 2-week vacation, like the day after everything happened. It makes me think that they don't take it as seriously as they tweet about or
was it already on the schedule?
Maybe, but
the vacation.
Maybe, but so what? Like, that isn't this supposed to be like a national crisis? That's the way they're talking about it. Like, it just seems like, even like on an optics level, that it just seems bad. It just seems bad, and no one seems to think so except for me. I don't know why. Anyway, maybe the point is that if there's an emergency, they can just reconvene. Doesn't matter if they stay in Washington or not. But I don't know. It just seems like a weird, like symbolic. It seems symbolically weird to be like, all right, see ya. Like, we're going to go on vacation now. That's literally what it is. When they adjourn, that's a vacation. Anyway, moving on. Joe Biden fucking sucks.
What did he do this time?
He's failed. He just keeps failing and failing before he's even taken office. Well, I mean, this was making the rounds that during it wasn't even a speech, or maybe he was taking a question. I don't know. He was on a stage talking, and he said, "We need a strong Republican Party." I mean, I can find the exact words he used, and I think those are pretty close.
I think I saw this. But don't we need a strong Republican Party? Because we need at least one party that tries to pass laws.
Yeah.
Even if they're bad ones. Actually, no, we don't need that. Maybe it's best to have two parties that do nothing. Let's just let everything stay bad and not get worse.
I mean, can you imagine any Republican saying the opposite?
No.
And I mean, this is all just, and this is more of that fucking cabinet of rivals type Lincoln idealism horse shit that Obama was doing. Like, again, like, I was drawing parallels to like the first Bush term earlier, but like we also like it's like a combination of that plus Obama's first term. So there's all of this fucking yeah, I mean, and his point is, and some people think this is legitimate, it's not, it's fucking horseshit, that like to make the opposing party better, we need a strong opposing party that like pushes us to be better. It's like, you can't even fucking listen to the people within your party pushing you to be better. What, I mean, it's just, it's so obviously fucking bullshit. And I think that, I feel to me it's Biden against it's Biden kind of doing what Trump has done so well, like saying the quiet part loud. It's like, yeah, we need Republicans to use as scapegoats to not pass the things that people want. That's how I'm choosing to read into it. Like, we need a strong Republican Party, so we have an excuse not to do Medicare for all, and so on and so forth. Like,
that's how I read into it too.
I mean, that's what it is, and both parties use each other as excuses for stuff for things that they don't want to do, that they claim they want to do. It goes like, both ways.
Abortion. They don't really want to ban abortion, but they want to keep like getting votes on it.
Exactly, and it's very easy to vilify, the Democrats as heartless baby killers. They won't let us legalize it. But yeah, I don't know. I just felt disgust when I saw that, of course. And the other thing is that, again, in the vein of like these people not taking what they say seriously, Biden said, how dire and serious the siege was, the riot, the coup, and then he's basically letting everybody off the hook, including Trump. So while some people in Congress are saying we got to impeach, we got to invoke the 25th Amendment, Biden has very clearly said he is not in favor of impeaching. And he was saying this shit before and after the riots. He's like, I'm not. Remember in the leaked meeting where he's like, we're not going to be a politics of hate or whatever, or like we're not going to punish people for the past. We're going to look forward to the future and all this shit. It's just his way of saying like, I'm not going to do anything to Trump, and he's still not. He doesn't really want him investigated or charged. I mean, presidents don't fucking mess with outgoing presidents. It just doesn't happen because they don't want the next person coming after them to fuck with them. That's basically as simple as it is.
And if I can say anything for surety with Joe Biden, he is a man who wants to follow tradition.
Yeah.
Which sucks. Because this is a time where maybe we shouldn't be following tradition. Maybe following tradition is just fucking old at this point.
Here's what Biden said about impeachment. If we were 6 months out, we should be doing everything to get him out of office. But 2 weeks before Inauguration Day, quote, I am focused on us taking control as president and vice president on the 20th. So he's just saying, like, I'm too busy to impeach Donald Trump. That's literally all that means. Which in turn means, of course, I don't really want to do that. Are you kidding, Jack? I'm going to be the president. Do I want to get impeached? And then he also said about like Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz, who like two of the big guys who were like pushing the election fraud idea. People asked him like, should they be forcibly removed from Congress? And he said like, what did he say exactly? He said he just wanted to see them like voted out really hard. They wouldn't be voted out until 2024.
Well, yeah, but that'll give
he's
them
like
time
acting
to reform,
like it's gonna.
Joshua, that'll give them time to reform.
Yeah.
It'll give them time to become better people,
It's funny. I wish I had the exact quote he said because he tried to make it sound like he was sounding really tough. He was like, I want to see them like voted the hell out or something like that. But like, it was just him sidestepping the question, and it's so ridiculous. Oh, here we go. Most significant was what Biden said of Mitch McConnell. This is another guy who's just like so obviously backpedaling on the last 4 years. Mitch McConnell, who remains Senate Majority Leader until elections for officers are held in the new Democratic-controlled Senate. Biden said he was, quote, so proud of McConnell. I thought what he said before the United States Senate was the right thing to do. He stood up. He was ashamed. Biden was referring to McConnell's speech on the Senate floor Wednesday as he tried to cover up his own role in providing political legitimacy for Trump's efforts to nullify the elections. All of the figures defended by Biden helped prepare the assault on the Capitol with weeks of lying claims that the election was stolen. McConnell, as leader of the Republicans in Senate, rendered critical service to Trump by withholding Republican recognition of Biden's election for weeks. He declared in the aftermath of the election that Trump was, quote, 100% within his rights to look into allegations of irregularities and weigh his legal options. And then it goes on to mention how McConnell's wife, who was the transportation secretary, jumped ship recently, pointing out how they're both just, distancing self at the 11th hour, the last minute from Trump. Here we go about the main meat. Biden's principal concern yesterday was to uphold the stability of the Republican Party itself. We need a Republican Party, he said. We need an opposition that is principled and strong. He referred several times during his brief remarks to his Republican friends and stressed that he would strive to unify Republicans and Democrats to accomplish things we have to agree on and work together on. God, I hate that fucking vague talk. We gotta work together on stuff, Jack. This fucking, it just, oh God. In the moments of I feel like all this stuff kind of ties together somehow, and maybe I need the red string or whatever, on my walls to connect everything together, because my brain's a little scattered right now, but the Twitter ban, the coup, the police letting the coup thing happen, then all this calling for unity, the business community, calling for unity and suddenly supporting Biden, it all feels like it's just part of the same kind of event happening. And it's gross and I hate it. And I should mention Pelosi also went on TV and said the same shit that Biden said, basically that we also need a good Republican Party, etc. And this whole thing also reminded me of what Obama said when he was on his way out the door, right before Trump took over, and it was really kind of telling to me. Shit, I don't have it linked here, but I'll just remember what I saw. He used the word he referred to Trump taking over, basically the transition between Democrats to Republicans as an intramural scrimmage, meaning, of course, that's like when a sports team just does a practice game amongst themselves. That's literally what it means. And yes, some people might say, yeah, he was just calling for a peaceful transition, for unity. But I don't know. Was he? Or is he just kind of basically saying what a lot of people sense and know to be true? He literally said the words, "We're on the same team," saying we all want goodness for Americans, that kind of platitude.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But just the word, the certain wording of it, it's what came to mind when I saw this shit coming out of Biden and Pelosi's mouth. And it's at the same time, but now it's the transition back to Democrats, but it's all the same fucking platitude bullshit being said. Well, aside from that, Biden is going to bless us with $10,000 in student loan alleviation.
Thank God.
Well, actually, he's not actually. He's not really going to do that, because the real headline is he's going to urge Congress. He's going to urge Congress to act, even though he could do it as an executive order very easily.
And they'll argue about it forever.
And nothing will get done. Yeah. And on that same tip, I guess, is just the idea of not getting anything done. Like, so the $2,000 checks, $2,000 checks, Medicare for all, student loan alleviation, like a lot of this stuff is obviously taken a real backseat in the last week or so. And we've got Joe Manchin in the wings, ready to shut down the $2,000 check. He's already come out strongly against it. But he's also, in one article I found, sort of walking back what he said.
Oh yeah, the stock market crashed. He has to walk it back now.
So Senator Joe Manchin says he'd absolutely oppose Biden's stimulus checks, then swiftly walks it back after stocks tank. Biden began laying out his framework for the next round of COVID-19 relief, reports the Washington Post, and said his plans include a multi-trillion-dollar package that would provide, quote, more direct relief flowing to families, small businesses, in part via $2,000 stimulus checks. But Manchin, who Axios notes will become an increasingly important player as a moderate in the Democrats' razor-thin Senate majority, seemed taken aback by Biden's promise. I don't know where the hell $2,000 came from. I swear to God I don't, he said. That's another $400 billion. Drop in the bucket, considering where fucking money goes in this country. Since Republicans are united in opposing larger checks, resistance from a single Democrat could throw a wrench in Biden's plans. It would. I'm pretty sure if one person is an outlier on a vote in the Senate, it can't be passed. One Democrat, that is.
Yeah, I think so.
Could be wrong about that, but I think it's basically true.
Basically what the number is.
He told the Post he would absolutely not support larger stimulus checks for Americans, but a spokesperson later seemed to walk back his resistance, insisting Manchin, quote, isn't drawing a red line against $2,000 checks, but simply, quote, believes vaccine distribution should be a higher priority. Oh, is that what he said earlier when he said, fuck no $2,000 checks? We can't possibly do both things either. We just don't have the funds. This whole thing makes me want to throw up. Yeah, so be on the lookout for Joe Manchin being a very prominent figure in the next 4 years. Another funny thing about Joe Manchin is the DNC, the Democratic establishment, they were pushing really hard for him to keep his seat. They need him. They need somebody like him. They need the scapegoat. Yeah. It kind of like went from like all the big news down to like the smallest news, but I mean, I don't know. That's not totally small news, but
well,
I feel
think
exhausted.
That, it's amazing that now that they have an excuse, I think that the likelihood of anything getting done has just been decreased quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Any of these policies that we kind of wanted, that we, so we'll see.
I think here's my prediction for at best what happens in the next 4 years. Well, let's say I'm not going to go that far ahead because things could be so. I mean, we might be living in a fucking, I don't know, Mad Max world in a year, but like, I'll say in the next year, in 2021, I think at most we'll get one $2,000 check, and it might come after like months of bickering and bullshit. And like you said last time we were talking, they'll point to that check for the next 4 years as like, aren't you grateful, you little pissant? Stop criticizing me. Gave you $2,000 once. Yeah, I think that might be the height of 2021, unfortunately. I mean, could anyone really object to me being not optimistic at this point. I don't know. I feel like it's pretty well earned pessimism. God damn, my fucking mouth hurts from talking. We've been recording for 3.5 hours.
Yeah, I think we should end here. I want to try to eat.
Oh yeah, I got
go to work.
I got work really soon too. I'm gonna do quick recommendations.
Sure.
Okay, I got something in mind.
Me too.
Okay, cool. Do you want to go?
I'll let you go first.
Okay. I'm going to recommend a movie that I just rewatched the other day. And it was even better than I remember. And I remember it being very good. It's called Coherence. It's a 2013 film described here on Wikipedia as a surreal science fiction psychological thriller, which is a good description. It's like super low budget, because it's basically just like these 8 people having like a dinner party, and the conceit is that like there's this kind of once in a lifetime or something like comet that's very close to the Earth, like passing over the Earth, and it's like kind of slowly revealed that this might have sort of like weird reality bending effects on the Earth, sort of tied up in like quantum physics and stuff. I'm sure like the quantum physics stuff that gets mentioned a little bit briefly in the movie is like half-assed at best, but it doesn't matter. It's a movie. There's like, it's basically like kind of like, what if like Schrodinger's cat experiment like kind of was literally represented, but within like a group of a house full of human beings. And it's really good. I don't know, it's just really tense and weird. And I mean, I don't want to like, it's the kind of movie where you don't want to give too much away. It gets increasingly more strange and fucked up in ways that you don't quite expect as it goes along. And strong recommendation. Yeah, Coherence. Excellent movie. It's really engaging. I didn't look at my phone once.
So the thing I'm going to recommend is Kate Elliott. She's a fantasy writer that I really love. She started releasing this book series. I mean, it's already over now. There's 7 books in the series. It's called The Crown of Stars. The first book in the series is The King's Dragon. And the first book came out, I think, the same year that the first book in Game of Thrones came out. And she is way less popular than George R.R. Martin, but I think that her fantasy writing is very similar, and I actually think she does it better than Martin. And I'd heard it mentioned the other day, and it was like a really, like that series was really like foundational for like me when I was like younger, because I think I read it. First time I read the first book was when I was like 16 or something, and it was like, whoa, this is a really cool book. I've never seen fantasy written like this. And because I'd heard about her the other day, I was like, oh yeah, I really like her. So I might even go revisit it. But so my recommendation is Kate Elliott, and the series is The Crown of Stars.
Cool. Well, I guess that's it for today. All we did was talk for 3.5 hours.
Yep.
I mean, it's definitely going to be cut down. Anyway, we got to go. So,
yep.
Oh wait, fuck! Quickly, plugging ourselves. Internet. Where are we on the internet, Jason? Help!
HeatDeathPod.com. We're also at Twitter at HeatDeathPod. We're also at Instagram at Heat Death of the Universe podcast.
No podcast, but anyway.
No podcast. Oh, sorry, at Heat Death of the Universe. We also have an email, and you can email us. You can message us on Reddit. You can upvote us on Left Podcast. I know some of you found us from Left Podcast, so, give us an upvote if you're still listening. Talk to us. Tell us what you want to hear more of. Tell us what you want to hear less of. Tell us Tell us how you would fix this goddamn world if you could.
Excellent. All right. I'll see you later. Bye, everybody.
This song is forever. It's one, it's one, it's one. Inside yourself or your father. All is love, all is none, none is one. Kindly fall back from behind you. The illusion has been just a dream. The valley of death cannot find you. Now is when on the sunshine beam. So bring all of your reflections, for there I will surely be. No golden fear of hunger. You can't see, you can't see, you can't see.
The first voice recording was made in 1860. It was a 10-second fragment of the French folk song Au clair de la lune recorded by inventor Edward Leon Scott de Martinville. But who will make the final voice recording and when? What will it be? Who will hear it?